I am here to talk about all the spooky things. Last weekend I took part in Dewey's 24-hour readathon and I decided to keep my October theme of spooky things mainly, and since then I've also read a couple of other things that are quite spooky as well that I really want to recommend and share before Halloween because I think they'd be really good to read on Halloween. They're quite short and I think you could probably get through them in the day if you have the day to yourself and can just relax and, well, relax and freak yourself out. I've also joined a Goodreads group started by Little Word Weaver. It's Halloween themed. There's lots of different challenges, so you can read Frankenstein or Dracula or Jekyll and Hyde or so on and so forth. The first one I'm going to talk about is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This was my first time reading it, and although I gave it 3 stars, I think it has a lot of merit. If you're looking for something that's going to creep you out, I wouldn't choose this book because I think it's a lot more to do with society and how it works and how sad it is sometimes. My favourite parts were when the creature was telling his own story and explaining how he feels so isolated as this creature that's being created rather than that has been born, and the way that people react to him is just absolutely heartbreaking. And I have so much sympathy for the creature that in the end the Dr. Frankenstein, although I knew that he's supposed to be the protagonist, I didn't have much sympathy for him. It really explores the theme of nature versus nurture and what happens when a person is shown no kindness whatsoever in their life. How does that make them act? And what does it say about the rest of humanity? I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars because although I did see a lot of merit to it and the themes that I've mentioned I was really interested in, and the part of the story that I mentioned I was really interested in, I think I enjoyed Dr. Frankenstein's part less because I felt as though it was a little bit repetitive, especially in talking about how he felt and his kind of angst. I just kind of wanted the story to move along. But there are some absolutely beautiful descriptions of the landscape and it was very well written as well, and it was one of those stories that I just got into quite easily. The second thing I read was The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. This is a short story about a young woman who becomes the governess to 2 young children. So she moves to this house and these 2 children they seem so perfect and they're so angelic, but there's something going on that gradually comes out. Like, completely perfect children just creeps me out anyway, and I think this book cover really shows that idea quite well. For me it was like Jane Eyre but with more supernatural things going on. One of my favourite parts about this story was the fact that the governess is so brave and she really is determined and makes it her mission to save these children. Most of the story is her trying to get out of one of the other characters what has happened in the past and what it is that no one will talk about. The best thing about this story is that everything is just layers and layers and layers and nothing really happens on the surface, especially in the conversations. It's full of subtext and I really enjoyed that about it. I think it made it extra creepy. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. And the last thing I've read that is quite spooky is Carmela by Joseph Le Fanu. This is the story of a young woman who is the victim of a vampire. In my opinion, I think this is the creepiest out of the 3 that I've mentioned in this video, simply because I really enjoyed the sort of lore of the vampire in this, just the way that it was connected to sleep. I've had experiences of sleep paralysis in the past. It is terrifying. Basically what happens is that your mind wakes up but your body hasn't quite woken up yet, so you can't move but still half asleep and half awake, so sometimes you're still dreaming as well. Sometimes you do have hallucinations at the same time that this is going on, and the fact is you can't move, you can't do anything about it. I've felt things and I've heard things but I've never seen anything, but the way that the vampire works in this just really reminded me of that, and the descriptions were so eerily similar that it just, oh, it sends shivers down my spine right now just talking about it. If your idea of creepy is figures standing at the end of your bed and dark shapes moving around your floor, then this is the thing for you. I give this one 4 out of 5 stars. So those are the scary things that I've read so far. I think each story has been more creepy than the last, and I'm not usually one to read or watch scary things because I get very creeped out very easily, but I think I'm starting to get a little bit addicted to that feeling of being creeped out, so I'm just really loving exploring all these classic stories that I have never got around to before. I'm so glad that I made this decision. I'm currently reading The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I'm only a little bit of the way through that, but I'm enjoying it a lot so far and quoting a lot because Oscar Wilde is probably the king of quotes. Alright, so that's all I wanted to talk about today. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye!